Hello, everybody, and we're back with this new episode of Cubism. Like normal, I'm Aaron.
I'm Drew.
And today we're talking about the new Commander 2017 product and how it can affect your cube. So we're going to be talking about, some of the standouts this time around.
The terrible wording that all multiplayer focused cards have, and how I hate them.
It feels bad. Council's Judgment is obviously a very good card. But every time you have someone who's not really cubed before, and they read it for the first time, like, hey, what does this card do again?
It's like, I pick one of these right now. No. It just exiles one thing.
I'm just choosing this, and it's
like
gone.
Chaos or custom wording.
Yeah, it feels very, nitpicky, but I hate the multiplayer relevant text on a lot of these cards. But hey, Commander keeps pretty. At least every year they seem to be pushing out fairly push cards in almost every box set,
except for this year.
So we're going to talk about a handful of cards, the cards that kind of have stood out. A lot of people have been talking about them already for about a week. So I guess before we get into it, we want to thank the Mana Base. The Mana Base is the platform that you're probably watching us on. It is the website that helps us, supports us, and helps bring you content from us. Cubism. Almost every other 3 weeks.
Occasionally.
But yeah, Metabase is a great place to check out for any kind of Magic content from Cube, Limited, Art, EDH, Modern, not Vintage. Don't go there for Vintage. The other stuff, though, it's all good. Popper. He's coming back soon. Austin Hoy's coming back. Pop Ponderings. Soon. All right, so in this year 20 Commander, we got, instead of there being like a colored pairing like monocolor, multicolor, wedge, this and that, we got tribal, which doesn't normally bode well for Cube, but there's still some standouts. I know the mechanic they introduced in it too, Eminence, was great for Commander players, not so great for Cube players, but it's not called Cube Commander
2017.
So with that out of the way, unfortunately, like we kind of already talked about in the beginning, every year there seems to be some sort of pushed card for this. In all these kind of supplementary sets in these Commander products, like a pushed card. Like even in the first one, like Scavenging Ooze was a card, True Name Nemesis, Toxic Deluge, and even in like Conspiracy, you have Lesser Storm is in the first one, which is like a pretty powerful card. Containment Priest, stuff like that. But in this one, there isn't really one of them.
No. And there's no like snap include or something that they're going to reprint in standard.
Yeah. I think the first card on our list, Alms Collector, I think that was the card maybe that they had designed as being this kind of card.
But it's not pushed.
But near the end of the day, so Alms Collector is 3 and a white for a 3/4 flash. It is a cat cleric. I like the artwork a lot, big fan. And then if an opponent would draw 2 or more cards, instead you and that player each draw a card. So this sounds like it was supposed to be good. Like maybe it cost 3 in the beginning.
Sounds like a Spirit of the Labyrinth type guy.
Yeah. So again, I think this card maybe, on the drawing board was something that was a little more pushed, but just near the end, like, hey, this card can't really cost 3. So I guess you have to bump it to 4, and then 4 kind of pushes it. It definitely pushes it out of the realm of Eternal, unfortunately. So it kind of puts it into the corner case of Cube or Commander. And I think for Commander, this card's pretty great. Your opponent casts Wheel of Fortune.
It's got flash for a reason.
You draw 8 cards. They draw 1 card. It is like a White's Notion Thief, which is a card that trying to make a splash in Vintage, but you can pitch you can pitch it to Force of Will. You can't Cleric to Force of Will, unfortunately. So what do you like about this card?
Art, flash,
mana cost. So
3 and a white. Very nice.
The white 4-drops, I don't want to say it's hard to break into, because there's a finite amount of them in Cube, and they're all stellar. But the bar, I guess, because the other ones are so good, the bar for entry seems kind of high. And this card has a lot of stuff going for it. It has the attractive mana cost. It has an okay statted body. It has flash, but the ability is kind of whatever.
Like, I had Spirit of the Labyrinth in for at least a year, and I think it was relevant once. So this being flash, you can get people more with it, but it costs 4.
Yeah, so originally when I read the card, I do like the idea of the card. I think maybe there's probably a world where I'll try this card one day. But again, I think this was the card on the drawing board that was the card they were going to push. That unfortunately just fell a little short, and I think
well, I guess my
the end
cube's
result shows
all
for it.
foil too, and these cards like have to prove themselves for me to want to put in non-foil
Can't
cards.
have some of that non-foil trash. Got no time for that.
They still fit a few in, Flesh Carver.
Yeah, Flesh Carver.
He's still in there.
That's a couple. You have Stronghold.
Yeah.
Recurring Nightmare.
Yeah, that's a sweet altar.
A couple stand-ups. So the next card on our list is it's like a new spin on an old favorite, and that's BattleForge, Blood-Forged Battle Axe, not Battle Axe, Axe Forge.
Blood Axe.
Blood Axe, Battle Axe. So Blood-Forged Battle Axe is Bone Splitter, but it costs 2 more to equip, or 2 to equip, not 2 more. 2 more to equip would be abysmal. It costs 2 to equip, and every time the equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you get a copy of Blood-Forged Battle Axe. So it's a Bone Splitter that creates more Bone Splitter. I don't know what the flavor is. That you kill your opponent who also has a Blood-Forged Battle Axe. You take theirs, and I got 2.
You turn them
and then I give
into
one
a
to
Blood-Forged Battle Axe, and now you have 2. Like Majin Buu, everything becomes a Battle Axe.
I like the flavor more of we're on a playing field where everyone's fighting with Blood-Forged Battle Axes, and we're just taking each other's Battle Axes. Anyway, so I know we talked about this card a little bit before we sat down. What was your initial reaction on this card?
Well, I had Bone Splitter in both my cube drafts on Friday, and if it cost 2 to equip, it would have not been even worth running, despite my red deck having 20 playables. So this costing 2, I don't care that it can copy itself, because I couldn't use extra copies between casting cards. So it's kind of rough.
Yeah, I know. In the red deck you drafted, very often I've been drafting these kind of quick token-esque white decks or white-red decks. Sorry, and Bone Splitters are kind of fits into those decks very well. It's almost become those are the only kind of decks that it really fits into nowadays. And those decks I think thrive on being able to kind of tempo your opponent with like efficient creatures and like this spot remove, like a burn spell here and there, where you can squeeze in Bone Splitter and it'd be fine. But Bone Splitter that costs 2 to equip is a little harder. And then even if you get a series of extra Bone Splitters, the 2 to equip, the spending 4 mana to double Bone Split or something, probably doesn't happen all that much unless we're pretty late into the game. And even then, again, it is a marginal upside. Bone Splitter, it's been in my list for it's probably, I want to say, overdue to be removed. But there's not quite enough,
I don't think there's anything in that space that could replace it. And this is close.
The colorless section is pretty wide in terms of like there's a lot of options, and you're not like, unlike blue, for example. Blue has like a tight 60 cards. Colorless and colorless and some other colors.
20.
Yeah, they have they have a handful of standouts, but there's still a lot of room to play with, and Bone Splitter, because of that, is kind of on borrowed time, I think, at this point. So, am I interested in 2 mana to equip Bone Splitter? Only if everyone agrees that we're all fighting with BattleForge axes.
Like, you check the art. It's like picking it up out of some blood.
It looks a little Eldrazi-esque.
I think he's getting turned into a battle axe. Because
where
where
did
the blood come from?
Admittedly, if you look at the artwork, it looks like the guy that I murdered with my axe fell to the ground
and became an
axe, and I'm picking up another axe.
Like Majin Buu.
Like Majin Buu. Which kind of debunks my theory, but... Yeah.
Art podcast coming soon.
Speaking of art, I thought maybe all the curses had the same guy in it because it was the artist. I was like, hey, maybe I'm gonna be really cool and I'm gonna put.
Did
the
you
same
look up
guy
the
in.
artist?
I did, and then assuming the picture I found on the internet was actually him. It's not even close to him. So maybe it's a lore thing. Maybe it's a
hipster haircuts
thing.
Have something to do with magic.
Yeah, this haircut this doesn't look like Magic the Gathering. It feels very weird. So, anyway, the curses. So we have the one that I have, I guess, notable, is the blue curse. Originally, I read this card as like a better Edric. So whenever you attack with a creature, you draw a card for each attacking creature, which obviously isn't the case. It's you only draw 1 card for attacking with all your creatures. So it what's the word? It's
curiosity. Divination?
Yeah, make the argument, what if I just play Divination? Like, is Divination will give me the immediate cards? Sure, this thing might do something for me, but I think it was the one worth talking about. If the green one untap your lands, it'd also be on the list, but it doesn't.
The black one has an untapped token?
The black one, we haven't fact-checked this at all, but are told that the only difference between this one and Curse of Shallow Graves, I think is the original one, was that it makes an untapped token as opposed to a tapped 2/2 zombie token.
That's the talk on the Reddit.
It is. I have not fact-checked this at all. So, if I'm wrong, I'm going to edit it out. But, yeah. So,
I never ran into the curses originally, and I don't particularly want to this time either, so.
The black one was okay for a while, and the green, the Curse of Predation, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Whenever you attack the player, your creatures get a +++own counter. That card was okay, too. And I think there's still a home for that if you play a little more of the aggressive green package. But anyway, we're not talking about old Commander, we're talking about Commander 2017. And Curse of Verbosity. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong.
Verbosity.
There's a little bit of a miss.
Especially with the art. Don't like the art. It's worse than Divination.
It's probably worse than Divination. So the next card on the list is easily the most talked about card since it's got spoiled.
That's
hands down.
Half that conversation was me.
Half the conversation that you trying to put up. I don't want to say fires, but that's because that's not the right term.
Random assessments, comparing it to other cards that kind of do the same thing, but not really.
All right, so the card we're talking about is Fractured Identity. So Fractured Identity is 3 white-blue sorcery, exile target non-land permanent. You get a copy of that card. So exile your planeswalker, your creature, your equipment. I get a copy of that.
So I was going to be the guy who didn't like this card, and you were going to be the guy who fought for it because we need some more controversy.
Well, so I think every time these kind of cards get printed, there's a huge debate. There's a lot of different sides of this. This card is new, fun, exciting. I value that higher than
Staples.
Staple.
Or
I
moderate role players.
Right. Or like this card is
has a high ceiling.
Yeah, like a lot of people just like dream big. Like, wow, I'm going to be able to get an Elish Norn. I'm getting my own Elish Norn. You have a Jace. I'm getting my own Jace. It's kind of like, I don't want to say, I guess bribery-esque in the sense that you play bribery. You don't play bribery with like, oh yeah, it's just going to get one of the guys in the other deck at the time. It's always like it's getting their Grizzlebrand. It's getting their Trastodon. It's getting the Woodfall Primus, which isn't that good, but it's getting all these. It's getting all the best things. It's all the good things, none of the bad. So fracture, and then it comes down to, I guess, too, which kind of spirals in the debate of Azorius cards or gold cards in general, of what are the best Azorius cards. So I think blue-white is probably the most debated one because the selection they have is so good.
Celestia is really packed too.
It is, but let's take the Azorius for now. So
it's Azorius.
The options they have are so good that, and there's the way people evaluate cards is so polarizing that a lot of people have different opinions. So I know, I like to value. We like to value cards that are unique and entice the player to play that color combination, versus
cards you slot in if you're already the color combination, or
kind of. So, like I guess for example, Sphinx's Revelation, Dragonlord Ojutai are cards like, oh man, I want to play blue-white. It's a more of a reason to play than just a blue control deck. I get this good finisher that draws me cards while killing them. I get Sphinx's Revelation that I get to 1-for-1 my opponents because that's what those decks naturally do, and then pull ahead of the game by Sphinx's Revelation for some amount of cards to seal the game. Versus Supreme Verdict and Detention Sphere, as is the opposite side of the coin of these cards are going to be fine. They're going to do the same thing every game.
They're actually kind of cards that exist in other colors.
Yeah, like if I want to play blue-white, I'm not... So Supreme Verdict and Detention Sphere are the kind of cards that make me want to do that. I can already play 100 different Oblivion Ring effects in white. I can already play various Wrath effects in whites, or maybe even in black. So my gold cards, I want to be effects I can't get otherwise from another color, from the one or the other, for example. So Fracture Identity does a bit of that.
Yeah. Well, like Reflector Mage also is kind of like a Mana War.
Yeah, it's just the best Mana War.
Yeah.
By a large margin. So I think Reflector Mage, because of how much better it is than its predecessors, it's okay that you kind of play that kind of stuff. So like I say I want my gold cards to hit a certain bar, but I do play right now. I play Sphinx's Revelation, Dragonlord Ojutai, Reflector Mage,
Supreme Verdict?
Supreme Verdict. So I do have 2 of the cards or I guess I have Supreme Verdict, which is the card that I would normally vote against. But I have the other 3 that I'm very happy about. But I know a lot of like blue-white sections are Reflector Mage, Geist of Saint Traft, Detention Sphere, Supreme Verdict.
And there's also like the Blink package, like Venser,
there's Venser and stuff like that. Brago. But I guess the big debate, the big notable omission that I don't play, I don't think you play as well, is Geist of Saint Traft.
I play Geist because I have 5 gold cards.
Geist is the one I don't play, and if I could fit a 5th, I probably would. And we can make definitely a whole episode talking about gold cards. But my quick reasoning is that I want my gold cards to best reflect what those colors do together. And while Geist is a powerhouse, it's there's almost no card you can really compare it to. It doesn't do what the blue-white deck wants, and is very often a Bant card or other series of colors card than it is a true blue-white card. So while Dragon Lord Ojutai looks, I don't want to say sad by comparison, Dragon Lord Ojutai is a Azorius card at heart, and that's why I play that one.
What about Fractured Identity?
Fractured Identity is a card you can get in a lot of effects. Like bribery, like treachery, those do still like
control magic.
Yeah, you can get like if you want the specific effect like Volition Reigns, or stealing a specific permanent. It's just I guess how often are you going to take not in the blue white deck, and are you going to take not creatures?
Not very often. Like if this thing costs 4, I would probably include it.
I think at 4. I would include it too. I want to say I sound stupid not to play it at 4, but let's how often are you going to take a planeswalker? How often are you going to take something that makes it better than treachery or control magic, which I think is the biggest comparison, or even bribery to some extent.
It depends on your cube makeup at some point. Like how many planeswalkers do you run? Do you have a slightly larger curve? Is it more mid range? This card will perform significantly better than for my cube, which is more aggro-focused overall.
It would perform worse.
Yeah.
So the more low to the ground your cube is, I know, the bigger your cube is, the more planeswalkers that are running around, the more, the more real targets this card has. Obviously, it will scale, like you said, drastically based on your cube makeup. And I know, I try to push aggro quite a bit. I try to limit my amount of planeswalkers I play, just to kind of make even the playing field. And I think just by doing that naturally, it makes this card much, much worse. Where if you're playing, let's say, something like the Legacy Cube, where Legacy Cube has the big mana effects, everyone's kind of going to the late game, unless you're playing Storm. Fractured Identity becomes a lot better, because all of a sudden the pool of targets becomes a lot better. Even like Bribery, again, it's a card that I don't play, you don't play. But in that environment, that card is, I'm way more on board for that card, because because of how juicy all the targets are.
Someone's going to be running something.
So someone's always running something, easily. So I think Fractured Identity, I don't think there's a clear answer of it being like, is it the best top 5 Azorius cards? I don't think the answer, it's not just a slam dunk.
Azorius is too big and there's too many options to be. These are the best.
Mm-hmm.
These are the most globally run, but they might not be the best for you.
Right. So I guess the other day, I do like Fractured Identity. I'm super excited that's a card that exists. I think it's a great commander card. I hate the wording on it for Cube, but
don't like the art.
Beast. You know what? I was trying to figure out who
it's really digital.
It is. I know it looks like a vampire from. I thought it was like Saskia from.
Vampires don't have reflections.
Wow.
Can't be a vampire.
Wizards messed up. No, Saskia is the 4-color legend from last year's Commander set.
You can make up a wording and what that card does, and I'll believe you.
It's real zany. Anyway, so Fractured Identity, again, I don't think the answer is very clear. I think it does very much depend on how your cube looks. And I'm sure everyone's super excited about it. It's definitely the most talked about, most hyped card in the set. It'll get a lot of reps in before people kind of be able to make their
final
judgment
on one side
on
or
it.
the other.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the card's fun, and that's what a lot of people want in other cards. So, after the big debate in Fractured Identity, we have some noxious debated cards. In Kess Dissident Mage.
Hey, the next one after this one.
The card's cool. I like the card.
Okay.
So Kess Dissident Mage is one of the commanders of the set. It's 1 blue, black, red, 3/4 flying. During each of your upkeep, you get to cast an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. If you do, exile it. So it flashes back any sort of
Free Snapcaster.
Yeah, so in a world where, because after Construct here, everyone's kind of playing some amount of flex slots for tricolor cards, Kess is an interesting one. I don't know if it's better than any, it's because it's a Grixis card, is it better than playing Nicol Bolas? Probably not.
I don't have a need to play full set of 3 color cards.
Neither do I.
So
I just play 5, and I try not to double dip on them, obviously.
I actually double dip on, I guess, Abzan, if you want to call Warden of the First Tree.
It kind of is,
card.
yeah.
But it's more like the card has to earn a slot, and then I'll make room for it. I'm not too spreadsheety, and I need to run one of these. So
I run Nicol Bolas and Painful Truths, and Painful Truth is very often a Grixis card, but it's also a Jund card and an Abzan card. Yeah. So Kess Dissonant Mage, I thought it was a really interesting card. It's kind of cool, but I think just in a world of Grixis cards, it's a little short. But I do like the card a lot, and it's over.
I like it has flying.
It does. Its body isn't bad for its mana cost, so that's pretty.
It's an option. It doesn't excite me, but.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's talk about something that does excite you for some reason with this weird vampire art.
I have a need to play Night Vale Spectre-esque effects in my cube.
Drew's a big fan of Night Vale Spectre, obviously. And Keru Mind Eater is the new Night Vale Spectre out of this. It's very similar to another card that's recently come out in Dream Stealer from Hour Devastation. So, what do you like about Keru Mind Eater?
I like it's a 1/3.
It's not a 1/2. Dream Stealer being the 1/2 for 3 feels real bad.
And while it slowly chips away at their hand, they're gonna have to put a real thought. Normally, I gotta discard these extra lands, but that's what you kind of want with this card.
Mm-hmm.
And if they give you a spell that they can't cast right now that's rather powerful, then great, you just got a real good Inquisition target or something from them. And it's going to get through fairly often because Menace surprisingly hard to block. And the cast cost is excellent.
Yeah, so I guess versus Dream Stealer, it exiles instead of discards, which is a big deal because you don't just auto-bin reanimation targets. It gives you, if they discard lands, you can play them, which is good. And the body blocks versus Dream Stealer.
When it comes down, that's the only turn it's going to block, and if it's on turn 3, odds are you're going to be able to profitably block something that came down earlier than it. Mm-hmm. And that's the only turn that matters, really.
Right, so I guess versus Dream Stealer. Dream Stealer, same mana cost, 1/2 body, has menace as well. Just easy to get in. Instead of exiling, they discard, and I guess the upside of it having the smaller body and slightly less text is that it eternalizes for 6.
Have you tried it?
I have not tried Dream Stealer. I know it made some sort of splash in Standard. I don't know how it didn't make it super big, but it did either way. Just on face value, I do like the Mind Eater a lot more. Like I said, the attractive mana cost, the 1/3 body is fine. It can block. It being able to play lands, being able to exile cards, I think is huge. I do like the card quite a bit. Black creatures are not good, so I'm almost ready to try anything, and I'm sure I'm going to try out Keru Mind Eater.
It's not foil. And that doesn't bother you.
Its art's really weird.
Not good art. I don't like it.
It has the...
How do you chew with that?
I don't know. So, the not quite Leovold of the set, because not everything can be Leovold, which is fine, in power level, is Malthus Feedseeker, and I love myself Mardu cards, and Malthus Feedseeker is a really sweet card. So Malthus is red, white, black for a 3/3 menace. A lot of menace going around. At the beginning of your end step, put a bounty counter on target creature an opponent controls. For as long as that creature has a bounty counter on it, it has whenever this creature dies, each opponent draws a card and gains 2 life. So Malthus, like I said, I really like Mardu cards. It has a fairly constrictive mana cost, a fine body, an okay ability if it doesn't die immediately. I do like that. It puts the bounty counter on, and even after it dies, it still gives you the upside. I wish it was anything else other than getting you 2 life. If they lost 2 life, I don't know, literally anything. But I like that this card almost, I'm pretty sure they realized their mistake with Leovold. Leovold has infinite text, way too much text. We're going to make Fiendseeker Vampire Leovold that's going to have half the text. And it's not as good. So I know I play a Mardu card in my cube right now. I play Crackling Doom. Big Crackling Doom fan. It hasn't seen that much play, admittedly, as of late. So maybe it's something, I love me Mardu cards. Maybe I'll try Malthus Feedseeker. But it seems, probably a little hard to push.
Doesn't have an enter the battlefield effect, but it kind of does because it triggers fairly soon.
It does, and but if your opponent doesn't have a guy, it's still a fine body,
and then you're getting through anyways.
Yeah, I guess that's the cool thing is sure your guy can block, but it might catch me in a card, which is cool. So again, I like the card. I think I'll probably have to give it a round or two, which I'm probably gonna do before I actually settle on it. But
the mana cost is a bit unreasonable for me.
It's very unreasonable, but the art's cool.
Yeah,
I like a lot of what's going on.
He's branding stuff for bounties.
Big bounty.
Tells a story.
Speaking of story, we have one of the old Weatherlight gang coming back in
Weatherlight Duelist?
Weatherlight Duelist. I was kind of surprised. You know what I love and they did it a bunch in this set, is when they bring old relevant legendary creatures back from, I don't want to say the dead, but back from old stories and make them relevant again, or make some of their cards relevant again. Which I'm not sure if I did not put. Fairies Protection, for example, is super flavorful for the storyline. I love when they do that kind of stuff because there's not really any other time you can do it. So Commander is the perfect kind of product for that.
Well, the core set's coming back, right?
They are. It's called 25. Well, no, I don't know if it's called core set or if it's called 25. Either way, hopefully they can do that again. So Miri Weatherlight Duelist is back from, was it originally Exodus printing?
Yeah, sounds right.
So, Miri didn't get a lot of talk recently, but it's probably because it's not very flashy.
It's probably good enough for me to run. I run Lexodon Hierarch. Smiter. I love Lexodon Hierarch, though. And I play it because it's a consistent 4/4 for 3.
Yeah.
And this being a 3/2, but it has First Strike, and it has, I guess, a Dueling Grounds type of effect. Mm-hmm. And...
Yes, I guess quickly I'll go over the card. It's 1 green-white for a 3/2 First Strike. Whenever it attacks, each opponent can only block with one or more creatures this combat, and whenever it's tapped, no more than one creature can attack you each combat.
Yeah, so it should be able to get in, damage through, and be kind of hard to block. And if they need to block Miri, they need something with 4 toughness or a removal spell. Otherwise, you're going to keep getting a damage again and again. So. Right,
so the big attractive part of it is once it attacks, if you have any amount of team, only one creature is blocking that combat, which is a pretty big selling point for the card. Again, Loxodon Smiter for a long time was this 3-mana creature that green-white could play, because most of the green-whites, or white 3-drops were all double white, with the exception of Blade Splicer. And some of the green ones just weren't as attacky. Like a lot of the 3-mana green guys don't attack super well. I think, we've gotten stuff like maybe Tireless Tracker recently, but so Loxodon Spider really glued it together while not being flashy in the slightest. Held the fort down, and Miri does it looking a little more badass.
Good art.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit.
I think it comes foil.
I think so too. I know some amount of the commanders come foil.
That's a selling point for me.
It's a big selling point.
So I wanted you to add this to the list, Patron of the Vein.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I saw a Vampire Shaman and 6 mana, and I was no, this can't be good. Thankfully, I read it again. And Patron of the Vein is 4 black, 4/4 flying. When Patron of the Vein enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. Can't hit my own guys. And whenever a creature your opponent controls dies, exile it and put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So this is a la Noxious Gear Hulk. So, Noxious Gear Hulk was a card that came out in Kaladesh. We kind of this card is Grave Titan. Why waste my time? Turns out it's really good. So, this card is another Noxious Gear Hulk. It's kind of surprising how similar they are. They both cost 6. They both have comparable toughness. They have 5 power. They both have evasion. So, the upside to Noxious Gear Hulk is it gains you life, but as an artifact.
Which is an upside and a downside.
And then Patron of the Vein, it's exiles the creature, ending it bigger beyond its existing power, and flying is better than Menace. Mm-hmm. So, is the life gain better than the other potential that Patron of the Vein has?
For me, no.
I think it's very close.
It is.
The life gain in black is very, very valuable, I think. You're paying a lot of life for cards here and there, or effects, or reanimate, this and that. So I do think that the life from Noxious Gear Hulk does probably edge it out a little more. But Patron of the Vein is very close, and I'm actually quite surprised that we got one so soon, right after Noxious Gear Hulk.
Plus the art's worse. It doesn't come foil.
It doesn't. I really like I really like the Kaladesh Noxious Gearhulk art.
Do you like the
I do
invention?
like the invention, not as much, not like Trench Gearhulk. I love both of them. They're both
Just
hilarious.
like watering some flowers or
Vertimus
something.
Gearhulk, again, both invention and original art. I love them both. But Noxious Gearhulk, I heavily prefer the original one, but they're still both great.
Casali singers? Quasali?
Kasali Slingers.
Singers?
Kasali, not quite singers. Is our next Indrik Stallpowder effect, which we seem to keep getting effects of. So Kasali Singers is a 4 green, 3/5 cat warrior, has reach, and whenever it or another cat enters the battlefield under your control, destroy target artifact or enchantment. So we got there was one in Origins too, right? There was a Dryad that was
Conclave Naturalist?
the same as, wasn't it? This is the same as
Indrik Stomphaller, yeah.
the same card.
I think it has slight bonus, but it might have just
Did it
been the
have
wording,
reach?
like, you may, and Indrik might be a must.
Yeah, so almost negligible, but so instead we get a 3/5 reach versus the 4/4, and if you play other random cats,
There's a couple.
I didn't really look into it. There's
Just
Kasali Pride Mage,
There's probably a bear that's a cat.
Somru's a
white.
Hound. Does this make Svan Lions better than League of Vanguard?
No. Dragon Hunter?
I'm just trying to make Svan Lions playable. It's only been like 6 years. So Kasali Singers is the next in the line of that of the Indrik Stompowler family. It's no acidic slime, but
Surprise.
nothing really can be acidic slime.
It's better mana cost.
It does. The 4 green's nice. I think I like the naturalists more.
If you're running, like, it's an option. And if you feel like you have enough cats,
the random cat synergy could be worth it.
or you have a problem with flyers, I guess.
If you're a big
I think
blue-white flyers
the
guy.
4 toughness is more important to me than the 5 power with reach.
5 power?
Or 5 toughness. The 4 power is better
right.
than the 5 toughness with reach.
I think so too. So, either way, another option to have. Another option out there. So,
I asked you to add this card.
the not so secret Stalking Leonin.
The wording is atrocious. Like, it should be illegal to print this on a card.
2 and a white. 3/3. Cat Archer. When it enters the battlefield, secretly choose your only opponent in the game.
How do you secretly do that?
I've written on a piece of paper that you know it's you.
Okay. If you run this card, I expect you to do that.
Reveal the chosen player. Exile target creature that's attacking you if it's controlled by the chosen player. Activate this ability only. So I could hard bluff somebody. You attacking, and let's say in Commander. Someone's attacking me like, ha, gotcha. No, I named that guy. That's too bad. So this card gets to surprise one of your opponent's attackers and exile it. It has an okay, but you know what? Speaking of white 3-drops, it has a good mana cost and an okay body. But it has a not so hot ability.
It reminds me of a few other cards. There's one with Battle Cry, or no. You attack with 2 other creatures and it gives your guys indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
All those cards that are 3 mana, 3/3s with an okay ability turn out not to be good.
Yeah, I think, let's say you compare this card to something like a Fiend Hunter or Banisher Priest. That's going to come into play and get rid of the card immediately and, unfortunately come back at some point. Which is better? So I think I lean a little more to the Banisher Priest side of it. Gets your blocker out of the way, starts jamming in there. This is probably the better card in the world where probably, you're playing some sort of mid-range matchup, you play this card, all of a sudden they really don't want to attack with anybody anymore. Or they started sitting in wieners.
You never attack with your best guy anymore, I guess?
Yeah, it just ices down their best guy. I don't know. This card,
It's a browbeaty type card.
Kinda. It's...
If your opponent gets to choose or have a relevant way to affect your decisions, it's not great for you usually.
Yeah, I'm not super into this card. Again, the attractive mana cost and body isn't that bad, but like I said, it's just going to ice down one of their creatures similar to Fiend Hunter or Banisher Priest, but if I need to get rid of a Grim Lavamancer, it doesn't really do that. It just stops their guys from attacking, and that doesn't really deal with utility creatures. So, again, I think it was kind of close. Again, white 3-drops, a little rough, but Stalking Leonin, I think, is a little bit of a miss. Speaking of
A
colors
little bit of
having
this.
bad creatures,
Hey, this is
Black.
all you. All you.
black's creatures are not good. They're like half of them are really good. The other half are not
The
good.
ones that cost 6 are good.
Yeah, speaking of Noxious, Gear, Grave Titan, all the homies. So this card, Vindictive Lich, if you looked at the I guess the fort, I looked into it a little before we
Some
started.
sweet art.
I like the art a lot. He's getting real mad. It's sad. I think this card is close, but as time goes, it's almost like I think this happens a lot. Where we're kind of progressing throughout Magic history. Cubes keeps getting better. Cards getting better. This and that, and like there's always cards that always come out and they're almost there. They're almost at the bar they need to be, and it's never quite make it. I think Vindictive Lich is that kind of card. Again, that kind of card you printed some amount of years ago. We'd probably be playing it. It's kind of sad. But I guess the other 4 black 4-drops I play right now are Necrotal, Skinrender, Kalitas, Braids.
If your 4-drop dies to a Land of Werewolves, it's a tough sell.
It is. But I guess even if you look at those 4 creatures, like you have Braids, Necrotal, and I guess in the history of Magic it goes like Necrotal, some amount of time, Braids, huge gap, Skinrender,
Kalitas.
some amount of more gap, Kalitas. The black 4-drops haven't been.
You got Abyssal Persecutor in there?
Yeah, there's also the Ravnica Demon,
Desecration
Demon.
I love that guy.
They keep printing these not very good black 4-drops with pretty big hindrances.
They all cost the same.
They all cost 2/2 black, every single one of them. So Vindictive Lich costs 3 to black.
It's the only good part.
It's a zombie wizard.
And-
Creature type's good.
And the art.
It's a 4/1, and when it dies, choose
Target opponent sacrifices.
one or more.
Yeah.
I didn't read that the first time, to be honest. Choose one.
But you can only choose a different player, right? So you can only make your opponent do one of these.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in the world of ones, unless I want to target myself for some reason, 3 to black, 4/1. When it dies, your opponent has to. You choose one. Sacrifice a creature. Discard 2 cards. Lose 5 life. 5 life is a lot of life. In a world where again Staxish kind of stuff happen, you have this pretty hard control deck. This guy isn't quite a one-sided. What's the Odyssey guy with the blade hands?
You're just like saying Ultralisk here. Like I don't know.
Odyssey guy with the blade hands. When he dies, everyone discards their hands.
Like I know that's a card, but
He has,
this
the,
is
he, has the,
Ultralisk.
he has the blade hands. I thought that would help you, visualize.
StarCraft, man. Don't even play StarCraft. I'm like,
Anyway, there's a creature that exists in Magic. It's 2/2 black. When it dies, everyone discards their hand. You could probably, once this card hits the board, your opponent isn't going to be like super jacked up when maybe wanting to trade into it. That being said, it's very the sacrifice a creature thing is very situational. The discard 2 cards is probably the best part about it, and they can play around it unless you have some sort of immediate effect. But even then, 5 mana Mind Rot got you, or 4 mana
4 mana.
Mind Rot got you isn't that good. Considering Mind Rot isn't good. And then the 4 mana 5 you also. Meh. So,
it could be a 3-for-1 at that point.
what's that?
Like Mind Rot, trade with a guy.
Yeah, that'd be great. So again, I think maybe I'm overselling this card a little much, but I do think this card is maybe 1 toughness away from being almost good. Maybe a couple year 2 or 3 years away from being good or playable. And Black's great creature selection. So it's a zombie wizard.
I like a little more that we had this like you telling me how good it is, but I'm not gonna run it.
Listen, I'm not running either, but
You're not after all that. You're not running this.
Oh,
You're putting this in.
I'm not.
You're trying it.
There's a lot of cards
There's
that
no
I'm
reason
trying that
you
I
put
think
this
are
on
bad.
this list and try and upsell it, and then say it's almost good enough. We're trying
Listen,
it.
there's
You're
a lot of
trying
cards that I like to talk about that I think are bad that I play anyway.
it. Look at his face.
Yeah, he's great.
You're running it.
I'm not running it.
I'm buying you one. You're running it.
I don't want it. I like the flavor text. Heart, mind, soul,
You're
weapons.
my
all.
bow, my axe, my sword.
So that's it. That's Grand 2017. Surprisingly, not a lot of dragons are on this list. They all cost 700 mana, so they're not going to be on the list.
There's a good dragon for multiplayer that's 6/5.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Though they said that I think it was a really good idea they chose to go with a tribal theme this time instead of just like, all right, we got to choose a different bunch of colors. I'm disappointed that they didn't print any partner cards. Because I know they printed it in the last set. Why not just print one in every deck? Why not? What would it hurt? I can't imagine them went in the lab and
Wizards really likes to randomly print like this keyword's in this card, and there's Goad. He's back for his second card.
Yeah, Goad's
and,
back
like,
in.
Sweep has like 5 cards in one set. That's, like sweep up all your planes.
But like, I don't understand what the harm was. It's added to one of these random creatures. Like again, I can't imagine Wizards went in the lab and is like, no, this 4-mana color pairing with Vile Smasher and this other guy too good. We can't release them. So I feel like once it exists, once that ability is in the Aether, why not just print more of it? Why not just, like, you know, have more partner nerds? Yeah. I thought that was my only beef with the set. Other than that, it's been great. It's been selling fantastic, which is awesome. A lot of people like dragons. If you had to guess which deck, so we have Cat, Vampire, Dragon, Wizard. Which one do you think sold the best?
Vampire.
Wizard.
Vampire. No, I was going to be
Wizard
the worst, hands
by
down.
a large margin.
That was the only thing I was sure of. That the Wizard
worst
would be
selling.
the
Guess what
least.
the worst selling one is? I was
Cat?
sure. I was
I'd say
sure
Cat.
Dragon was going to be the best selling one.
Cat.
Cat is the worst selling one. What a surprise! But anyway, I'm very happy with the set. In terms of cube, it seems like a little bit of a miss. Like we said, normally in almost every year, there's some sort of pushed card,
Like must include.
or even a la what's the white flippy
Gotta give me more than that.
X white.
Is it a morph creature? Is it
No.
a flip?
The instant
like,
put something
like-
X on the top.
The unexpected absence.
That one. That card, see, again, not a stable by any means, but like I feel
It's a welcome effect.
a very cool effect, a very great effect. But no, this one, like, yeah, I'm not sure. Again, you know, thought maybe the Mardu card, you know, maybe had an extra line of text. You know, they thought the white creature, the Alms Collector, maybe cost 1 less mana. You know, maybe you picked up 2 Bone Splitters. So you have, every time you got them, you know. How many Bone Splitters does that card have to make to be
Maybe
worth
like
it?
3 mana, equip all Bone Splitters to one creature. Just picks them all up.
So I guess, again, that's it. Like, I think, Fractured Identity is definitely the flashiest card of the set. It's probably the most powerful card of the set, too. I'm sure it's going to see the one that's going to see the most play by
Highest
a
adoption
wide
rate.
margin. It'll probably be the standout of the year. No, you know, no True Name, no. Even Scavengers, too. Like, it's a great 2-drop. Stellar. I guess that's it.
Could wrap it up.
Yeah. I'm going to go watch some Lord of the Rings.
The 2 towers.
2 Towers. We're on movie 2. You know, can you believe I've never
Extended.
seen all those movies. Extended.
This is the best one.
I'm sold, so I'm told. So I guess it's, you know, we're going to thank the Manabase again for giving us a place to host all of our content. Be sure to check them out for all your kind of Magic needs, except vintage. Like I said before, currently no vintage, so don't go looking for vintage there. But yeah, other than that, I guess you know, this time around we kind of explained, we went over, you know, even though you could see the cards if you're watching the video, we kind of talked about them because we also are going to start releasing this in podcast form. It isn't just an audio if you want to listen to it. It's how we originally started releasing content. And I know since we built the studio, got all these fancy lights, did all this nonsense, people still want the audio. So we're going to start releasing it in the audio. So hopefully us explaining the card like that, you know, made sense to them, not so much to you. But thanks anyway. So yeah, I guess, you know, I'm Aaron.
I'm Drew.
And have fun with your Commander 2017 release.